I remember I would definitely say the worst day of my life was having to sit my children down and tell my children that they lost their father. That was something I was not ever thought I'd have to do and was never prepared for. Dealing with my own loss.
Splice Originals.
Hello, Myrtle. Welcome to the podcast. And
Hello.
hello, viewers. Welcome to another beautiful episode of the Nana Yaya Bua podcast. I should say that Myrtle and I met
A long time.
years, a long, long, long time ago on a
Mhm.
beautiful stage. And I still have the videos from you performing, and I will share it with you.
Wow.
And most definitely, from those times to now, life has
Mhm.
happened.
Definitely.
Not that life was not happening, life was happening,
It
and life
was.
is still happening.
Yeah.
I look at your path and I'm really impressed, and I'm really proud of the
Thank
path you've
you.
taken, irrespective of the challenges. So I'm
Mm,
just going to give a little bit of your,
mm,
backstory, not your backstory, your bio, and
yeah.
then we will kind of get into the meat of things because
Okay.
I feel that people have a lot to learn from
Oh,
you.
thank you.
And
Thank
when you
you.
think the going is
Mhm.
all down, there's still hope in life.
Yeah.
So let's get to my beautiful sister's
Yeah.
bio. She is a griot, artist, scholar, writer whose life embodies the power of storytelling as a tool for healing, advocacy, and transformation. Now, those are words that
Mhm.
you just catch me with.
Thank
From
you.
her early years to navigating life's deepest challenges, and now stepping fully into her becoming.
That's right.
Oh my goodness, I love this.
Thank
Myrtle
you.
invites us into her world of resilience, creativity, and legacy. This is a conversation about roots, loss, and the journey of beginning. Thank you so
Mm,
much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
thank you. So appreciative for that.
Because I saw you were going to, how do you call it? You have a new book coming up, and I said, "No, I gotta talk to my sister before even the book comes,
Yeah.
because when the book drops, I may not get a hold of her. She'll be
Yeah.
very, very busy. So I decided to ticket
Thank
myself, put
you.
my first on the ticket line. So when the book comes, we
Mm,
delve back into it and
I appreciate that.
discover.
Gratitude. I
Yes.
appreciate that so much.
So,
Mhm.
how do you embody everything that you do? But before we get to that the answer to that question, let's take you back to your backstory,
Yeah.
growing up, your childhood, and how it's all ties into who you are.
Yeah. I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share that. I think having the backstory is important.
Mhm.
The backstory is really the story. It's really the story that's walking with you throughout your life experiences, but nobody sees that story.
Yes.
That's why it's the backstory, but it's really the main story, right?
Mhm.
For me, I was born in Dominica, otherwise known as Y Tikabuli, which is the indigenous name for Dominica, which is an island in the Caribbean. It is not the Dominican Republic, and we always have to say that because I guess Christopher Columbus didn't have a wide enough vocabulary to think of other names. Meanwhile, there's 54 countries in Africa, and they all have different names. Just saying. I had to like put a little bit in it, right. So anyway, but then those names also have colonial ties, so we won't go there. But whatever.
Yes.
Um, yeah. So I was born on this island. It was a place that actually, whenever I think about the place of my birth, I always say I'm sort of born on the edge of this cliff because my village sits high on this
Mhm.
cliff and overlooking the Atlantic Ocean, which is quite rough and this violent sea. You can't even sometimes just step your foot into a little bit of water because it will literally pull you in. That's how strong it is. And I was born in a community where my family, for the most part, lived. I lived around them. So back then, you would really live with your family, like your grandparents, great grandparents, aunts, uncles, even godparents were all within reach. So on my way to school, I would pass all of my family, a lot of family who would greet me in the morning, who would acknowledge my existence, I call it. And it was a security that I didn't realize that I had until I lost it. So my father unfortunately passed away in 1979. He was ill, and my mother the same year left to come to Canada because they had known that he was ill, just sort of start a life. And my mom was a very young mother. She had me at 17, so she was very young at the time. And when my mother left, a hurricane came and destroyed pretty much 80% of our island.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and all the infrastructure. I remember waking up from that hurricane and just looking out, and even to this day, I can't describe it. It's like everything is everywhere all at once. It's just nothing is recognizable and everything is everywhere. It was quite a traumatic experience. As a result, because my mother was on she was on a visa or a work permit, sorry, as a domestic worker. She came here and she was a nanny and a housekeeper and those things. The Canadian government had a provision that allowed for children who were in this disaster zone, who were orphaned, like didn't have another parent, to come to Canada until things were sorted, and so on. So I was one of those children. My mother did not have her own home. She didn't have her own apartment or place to stay. She was as a live-in nanny. And so it was this other family who took care of me during the week while my mom worked during the week. And then I saw my mother on the weekends. So that was how I came to be here. And every year, the immigration officer would just extend my time until my mom got her permanent status. And then I was put on that. And so that's my early beginning. I think it's an important story to tell because it shares the amount of loss that I encountered as a 6 to 7 year old child, and not ever really having the room or the wherewithal to express that loss, whether it was back home or here, and kind of going through life with this loss that's sort of the shadow person of me, and not really facing it until many years later when I became a mother and all of those things.
Yeah.
So my mother worked tirelessly to put me first, which she did. She still does to this day. I'm 52 years old, and she still puts me first. And I'm so grateful for her. But I wanted to write a story that sort of what we call in academic circles, like troubled the idea of motherhood in the Caribbean, because there's a lot of times, especially in the Black community, we really uphold mothers. We put them on a
Yes.
pedestal, but sometimes when you put somebody on a pedestal, you also do not get to see their full humanity. And so I wanted a book that would really explore motherhood in its fullness, in a more fullness or fulsome way. Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, many of your work, your artwork
Yeah.
explores those themes quite a bit.
Yeah. Well,
Can,
and much of my work explores, I'm really, really in visually, like my visual artwork, I'm really interested in the body and the stories that are held in the body. And what I mean by that is, um, like I went through this process of like really looking at myself physically and looking at myself for truth rather than looking at myself for, oh, do I look good in this lighting? Is this a beautiful shot? Or am I wearing, whatever makeup to cover up, which I'm not wearing. I don't have the patience to wear makeup anymore. I can't do it. I'm sorry, people, but this is what you're going to get. Like, I cannot, even every time I think about, oh, I'm going to make the effort today, it's like, no,
it's not happening.
no.
But
And
you're
I feel
naturally
like,
beautiful.
thank
This
you.
is you. So I,
I don't know. I'm like, I just can't be bothered, which is so surprising because there was a short amount of time where I was really into the whole makeup thing. So I think we go through waves, depending
phases,
on
yes, yes,
what's
yes.
happening in our lives. But but you were asking me about sorry, I forgot now. Oh yeah, my
Motherhood in your
yeah.
artwork. Yeah.
So in my artwork, I more give opportunities for people because I engage people in artwork a lot. Um, I more give an opportunity for the body to speak. Like my first show was called the Body Speaks because I documented myself in the nude for an extended period of time. So I'd take pictures of myself and I would look at those pictures and I would try to get truths from those images rather than trying to take a picture to make myself look a certain way. I wanted a picture that would reveal some truth to me about myself. And I just did this for myself at the beginning to get comfortable with my body, with myself, because I was it was a period where of almost 10 years where I was very athletic. I ran marathons. I trained probably 7 times a week. So sometimes 2 times in a day. I was like living like an athlete, eating like an athlete, you know? And I was very obsessed with my body in the sense of making it look and be a certain way. But then, even with that looking, I realized I was missing something. So I tried to strip myself bare and really look. What is it I'm really seeing that's outside of a beauty narrative or a body that is appealing to other people narrative, especially men? What is it am I really seeing? And what I saw was that the body has stories to tell, and
Oh.
the stories that it told me were about motherhood, were about the addiction that I had to pleasing people, to the gaze, people being okay with my gaze. You know, now I'm a bigger woman. I have a lot of fat, and I've always been like kind of like I've always had a booty. Okay, like even when I was like this, I was like literally like this and like that. Like I always.
Let me tell you this. The first time I saw you and you performed, I said, "This girl is gifted," and I just kept quiet. But listen, people are paying for BBLs and etc. etc. It's like, ooh, this girl is gifted.
Well,
And
it's
so,
been with me all this time. It's skinny or fat. It's there, and it's pronounced. It is like it is not going to be ignored in a room, and that is something I've had to learn to accept. Right? You know.
that is true. That
Yeah.
is true. That is
So,
true.
that experience with art and being a art using art, both storytelling and visual art,
Hmm.
as a way to offer some healing too, because it was a way for me to see myself and to find the truth. And then I found that by looking for truth, I found beauty. When I went for beauty first, I wouldn't find truth. But by looking for the truth about who I am, I I became like I kind of like this person. Like I wanted to every time I was like washing my body or lotioning, I was remembering to touch myself with care, with love, with the because now I am in touch and in tune with who I am.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so exhilarating. And no, because many people go into, say, churches to
Yeah.
find who they are, go to spiritual yada yada to
Yeah.
find who they are. And it is my belief, personally,
Mhm.
introspectively, to dig within ourselves.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that there was a point in time when I was, say,
Mhm.
coming from Ghana as a young 21-year
Wow.
old
Wow.
girl.
Yeah.
I I was called fat, and I
Mhm.
remember one girl telling me, "Oh, on the obese category, I was obese,"
Yeah.
and that thing got stuck
Of course.
in my head.
Yeah.
So when I came to Canada, I
Mhm.
always had in mind that I was, obese,
Mhm.
until I was walking on this street around Jane and geez, what's it? Jane and Shepherd,
Yeah.
when these God bless Jamaican men started hooting, "You're beautiful, girl. You look so good." And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, that is where these mentals,
Yeah.
and I began to re love myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
and then menopause hits,
Of course. I'm
and
here with
then it's
you. I'm here. We're here.
we ain't going
We're here.
nowhere.
We were going, but you know what? I am grateful for getting older. I think the thing that
Mhm.
society wants to sell us youth as women because they know that there's power in age. Like one thing that I know, from visiting Ghana and some of the other countries in Africa that I went to when I went for a month in 2017 or 18, can't remember,
Mm,
and also in our culture in the in Afro Caribbean community
mhm.
is eldership. Elders have relevance and importance in your daily life. Now in the Caribbean, I don't know if that's still a thing. I'm hoping it is, but in our home, it is, and that older women are important. We listen to them. We tend to them. Whereas in the North American or Western, I would say, because it's also Europe, idea is that we give a lot of voice to like youth, and but that's because youth has information, but youth does not necessarily have the wisdom or knowledge that age gives you. And when you get wisdom and knowledge as you age, you get confidence, and you no longer are bound to other people's ideas of what you need to be. That's why older women are like dressing. Now you'll see this new movement or new-ish with like women who wear different colors and patterns, and they'll wear bigger earrings, they'll wear more what they call statement pieces, and people will make fun of that. No, it's because they no longer care. They no longer have to be in the confines of what is determined to be beautiful or good or fashionable. We create our own fashion, and we could care less what the rest of the world thinks about it.
It's how I'm feeling this morning
That's right.
and what I put on.
I
And
don't want to
as
wear makeup. I'm not wearing makeup. And the capitalists who want me to wear makeup because they want to make a buck off me are not going to be happy with that narrative, right? So it's like I think there's a lot of value in age. There's a value in each stage. I'm not saying that being young and youthful, there's a value in each stage. It brings, just like this idea that in my scholarship, I
yes,
tend to, where in a West African sense, every member of the community has its value, and it's that
yes,
when everybody's valued in the community, then we have a healthy community.
that,
So I'm not saying that we need to value the elder more. I'm just saying older people and women in particular are not respected in the way that I think they need to be because they have something to offer.
and you are very right in that
Yeah.
sense, Myrtle. Very, absolutely right.
Hmm.
I'm going to share a little story with you.
Yeah.
I got a video on my WhatsApp from a young man from Ghana,
Hmm.
and I said, "Oh, that is beautiful. Congratulations."
Hmm.
So he's a linguist, and he was doing that, you know,
Yeah.
his thing. And I said,
Yeah.
"That is beautiful. Congratulations." So he wrote, "Medase Abrewa. Thank you. Abrewa is old woman."
Oh.
First, I got a little bit tiffed
Yeah.
that he called me Abrewa. But then I also had to pull back as a
Yeah.
storyteller myself.
Yeah.
I had to pull back and realize that no, it is an absolute
Yes.
form of respect
Yes, it is. It is.
because within the Akan tradition,
Yeah.
anything that becomes critical to talk about,
Mhm. Mhm.
they will say, let's go to Abrewa. Yankwa Abrewa. Let's go
Wow.
to the eld. Yes.
Love that. I
So
love that.
that is what he accorded me,
Yeah.
not because you're an old woman,
Yeah.
but you are a woman embodied with
Yeah.
wisdom.
Yes. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love this. It's the similar realization I came to when I started my PhD.
Mhm.
I had a lot of obviously I'm older going back to school. I started actually my graduate studies at 48 years old. I'm 52 now, and I'm at the end of this journey. And I remember a lot of younger women would be coming to me and asking me for help, for support, and then they would be talking to me like I'm older, and I would be like, "Why are they talking to me like
It's
this?"
the wisdom.
And then I realized this is an honor. It is an honor to age, number one. It is an honor to take up this role. And that's when in my mind, I decided I am going to move into the eldership stage of my life and take up that role with pride, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, and not with like, oh, I'm not young anymore. I don't need to be young anymore. I think I've done enough young living, you know. I can fully step into my years that are leading up to my eldership, and I'm more than happy to take on that role, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
And it's very respectful
it
too.
is.
It
Yes,
is,
it
it
is.
is an honor.
Yeah, it
It,
is an honor.
yes.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
that is one thing that maybe human beings, we even don't think about it. You
Mhm,
and I are able to say, have been blessed
mhm.
to be able to go in and decipher who we are as
Right.
individuals, as human beings, and as
Mhm.
women, and kind of find our purpose.
Yeah.
So there was a time I got a young Ghanaian nurse that I was
Mhm.
working with, and she called me Auntie Ma. And the patient was looking at me, it's like, is that your mother? And I said, they're all my children.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah,
all my children. But
yeah,
that is the African or the Akan
yeah,
concept. When you meet an older person, you acknowledge them that respect. So
yeah.
that I have many of these young nurses not even calling me by my name,
Mhm.
calling me auntie, sister, ma.
I
And
love that.
girl, I was swimming in it.
I love that. I remember when I was younger, not so much because Dominica went back and forth between the British and French. We inherited a lot of things from the French side as well, even our language and so on. And I remember when I was younger, when you met an older person, you always kissed them on both cheeks, and it was a sign of respect. So and I that's I don't even see that anymore. I don't like I never see it ever. It has literally vanished from
Yeah.
part of our culture and customs. And even there's other ways, in different cultures where people show respect to older people, to people who are elders. And I my mother lives with us, and it is something that I feel like it's a gift for my kids.
Oh yeah.
My kids got to understand the value of an older person, and not just someone who is should be invisibilized or ignored, but somebody who's a important part of society. And I wish there were more intergenerational homes where younger people are living with people who are at different stages of life as they are. But anyway, I'm getting off topic, but yeah,
No, no, but these are life,
yeah,
intergenerational
yeah,
lessons. And
yeah,
these are when the children also learn wisdom
yes,
without having to go through some of the experiences,
experience
or when the
for sure.
experiences come in, then
Yes,
they know.
for
And then
sure.
they also learn the history of who
Yeah,
they are,
yeah.
where they come from. And without that, we've lost a lot of history.
Definitely.
And then
Oh,
we are
yeah.
looking for ourselves.
There's even parts like even so in my book, I use a lot of our Creole language. So Creole is a mixture of French, English, Indigenous Caribbean languages like the Kalinago, and West African languages. There's a little mix of everything in there,
Everything.
but it's mainly French that has lots of mixtures of these. It's basically, I look at it as the language that my ancestors wove together when they came together in a forceful way, right? And in the book, I use a lot of the our as much language as I can that I know, because I'm not a fluent speaker, but I understand, because I want to preserve some of those meanings that were being lost. So even when I will ask my mom, what is the meaning of this word? There's some words that we've lost. We don't know what they mean. Like the village I'm from, Mabouche. We I asked my mom, what does that word mean? I tried to find the meaning of the word. Can't find it. There's a song my mom sings. It's definitely of West African origin, and I think it might be Yoruba, because I some of the words I saw in other Yoruba um, like things I just recognize. But my mom doesn't know what it means. She's just singing the song that she's heard. So we've lost so many things, so much meaning, right? That that was handed down orally, but that oral, that's why storytelling is so important.
Yeah.
That oral storytelling has almost disappeared. There are some people reviving it, but yeah,
Well, that is why I still do
yeah, that's right.
because I realized that I used to just do it for my children sitting
Yeah,
in the car.
yeah,
And when their children misbehaving, so to speak, when I'm
yeah.
able to get their attention, they also participate.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
that has become one of my causes to still keep
Mhm,
the oral storytelling ongoing
mhm.
if and when I can. And it's
That's
just
good.
also for my memorization
Yeah,
because I have to take it out of the memory. So,
definitely. And it stays, you know what? As I said, the stories are in the body. The body holds the stories.
yes.
So it may not be there, like they may not be aware that it's there, but it's living in their bodies and it's doing something. That information is doing something. That knowledge you passed on, is doing something. Like I have a great grandmother, Ma Bessie, who I say is my collaborator. She's my trans-temporal collaborator because she's no longer living. And I have a picture of her in front of my desk. I keep it there always because she is part of the work that I'm doing. My Bessie, I don't remember the sound of her voice. I don't remember her saying anything to me. I don't remember really strong interactions with her. I just remember her being there, saying that I never heard her voice. I never I mean I heard her voice, but I don't remember things that she said to me or so on. But when I started the storytelling journey, I didn't know that she was a storyteller. You're gonna hear some things. That's why I'm telling people when I talk about spirit, when I talk about transtemporal interactions, past, like I know in the Akan culture there is this idea of passing things through the line and protecting it. Each generation has to protect whatever that sacred thing that's passed on. I feel that because she was speaking to me in other ways, right? And so when I decided I was going to tell the story about, me coming to Canada and the way it affected my speech and my voice, I was talking to my mother about storying and I was asking her questions about our traditional storytelling and she said, "Well, your great grandmother was a storyteller. She would tell us stories." And I told her, like, I'm afraid to tell the stories because I stutter. Because I tried to hire someone else to tell the stories for me. I would just write them. And they said no. Once they found out that my great grandmother was a storyteller, like, you have to reclaim this role and you've got to tell the stories. So I said to my mom, I'm scared to be a storyteller. I'm scared to, because of my stutter. And my mom said, Ma Bessie stuttered severely, a severe stutter that we would sit there waiting for her to get the words. But she never gave up. She never not did not do her role. So that encouraged me. Then about a year later, I took voice reclamation lessons, I'll call them, for about a year, which really helped me. And then about a few months later, I had this strong desire to make salt, like just strong. Like all I thought about. Then it lasted for about a year or two where all I thought about was making salt. So I went back home and I told my cousin, I'm going to go to the Atlantic Ocean to collect water to make the salt. And she said, our great grandmother made salt. And if I tell you, there are countless things like this that I cannot explain that, people don't understand. I mean, maybe in the Black community, we get it, like ancestors, like elders, they have a very important role in guiding us. And just like, you told your children those stories, they may not remember the words, but the stories are living in them. And I feel like my grandmother, my great grandmother, though I don't remember the sound of her voice, I don't remember her speaking to me. Look at how she has shown up. And she continues. Like, I mean, I can tell you, bizarre, she's continued to show up. Yeah.
What is the saying? We are spiritual beings living a human
That's
experience.
right.
So, and when you pass, it's the body is gone, but within, yes, the
Yeah,
spirit lives on. The spirit
definitely.
always lives on. So
Mhm.
definitely. And that's why sometimes somebody says something, it's like
Mhm.
it sounds deja vu.
Yeah.
You see something and it's like, oh, I've seen this before. Have
Yeah.
you seen it before?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have, and even dreams. So
Yes.
one
Yes.
one of the gentlemen I interviewed who does a
Mhm.
little bit of this
Mhm.
back, dreams and everything, asked me to, write it down. As soon as you wake up, whatever you remember,
Mhm.
write it down. All the deja vu moments, catalog it, because there are
Mhm.
messages that
Mhm.
are being passed on. But if you forget, you wouldn't know what the message.
You won't
Sometimes
remember.
it takes you a
Yeah.
year or two to
Right.
realize or see, when you're able to go back to see what the message
Yeah.
was. And now I was telling somebody that there is a strong pull
Yeah.
back home, and I know exactly what it is
Mm.
because I have run,
Yeah.
literally I
Yeah.
ran from that pull.
Yeah.
And so I connected with a, what we'll say, an Obia. It's not an Obia man. So he's a spiritualist, he's a
Yeah.
linguist, and all those,
Yes.
traditionalist,
Yeah.
traditional priest.
Right.
And it was another great pull because I was trying not to
Yeah.
connect with him.
Yeah.
But at the end, I gave up and connected with
Yeah.
him. And we
Right.
had a very, you know, engaging conversation
Mhm.
because I want to interview him. And he said he doesn't do interviews, but that something is
Yeah.
pulling him that he needs to say yes to me.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
And I started laughing, and he asked,
Yeah.
Mommy, why? I didn't tell him. I was like, why are you laughing?
Yeah.
But I told him, when we meet in person, I will let him know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful.
So
Mhm.
I understand your,
Mhm.
they are passing it on. They
Yeah.
have given you that responsibility.
Yeah.
Sometimes we think it's woo woo science,
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
but
yeah. It's a simple. Then there's lots of things that like part of my study is Afrocentric thought and ideas. And so one of the ideas that I'm really kind of fascinated with is this idea of temporalism, which is basically time and how time exists. Really, when you think about it, there's no time, but
mhm.
time, past, present, future, how they kind of exist together through and so I've been thinking about this for a long, long time. And I'm hearing now the science world is like something that has been known in Africa for like
Oh,
time. Now they're validating and saying actually time may be so when you have deja vu, it's because it's already happened, because there's no such thing as past, present, and future, that we're living in this weird. I haven't really I when I'm done with this PhD, which is hopefully in a couple months, I really want to take some time and really delve into this. There's some great African scholars who are really looking at this, but looking at it from this is knowledge that has already been here. We already know this.
it's already been here. And I can tell you, this guy,
Yeah.
Greg Braden,
Okay.
is looking into it. Those are some
Yeah.
of the similar things Joe Dispenza, them
Yeah.
are looking into measuring and
Yeah.
whatnot. And I listen to them and I start laughing because
Yeah.
this traditional priest that I spoke to,
Yeah.
that is what he does.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And these are measuring it scientifically. He's living it
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's speaking it. And
Yeah.
it's part of the everyday life.
Yeah.
So here I am in the middle. It's like,
Yeah.
you're looking for this? He's
I know.
living it.
That's right. We've been there. That's why I called my book "We've Been Here Before,"
Mm,
because
mm,
I
mm,
wanna
mm.
stress that everything that we think is new, even experiences that women have had, they are really iterations of past experiences, that and it's just the different region, different climate, the different culture that interacts with, but it keeps bringing up the same questions. It
Mm-hmm.
keeps bringing up the same things. Like one of the things I was interested in my book is looking at, like, I looked back at my experience being mothered by my mother, and I was like, okay, what made my mother be like this, right? I was curious. What were the conditions that were set that created her to be this type of mother? And then I went back to her mother and I said, okay, what was my grandmother's? What were the conditions for her? And I kept going back, and I got to a point where I had to speculate, where I had to guess, right? Because past my great grandmother on my mother's side, I don't really have a lot of information. So I had to speculate what would be the conditions that would create these things that would then flow all the way to me, right? And one of the things I realized was had to do with voice. Because in the Caribbean, I don't know if this is case in West Africa as much, but in the Caribbean, there's this huge tendency for stuttering, right? Stuttering is, especially when I was growing up, like lots of people in my family have stutters. And I hear there's a lot of like, you'll see these Haitian memes and there'll be the mother's getting mad and she's oh, like she's stuttering, because in the Caribbean, it's a thing. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, this stuttering is a stress response that has been passed on genetically, not just genetically, but it's been passed on also culturally, because there's this idea during the plantation era that your voice is suppressed. You cannot speak freely. There is no opportunity for you to feel like your voice is safe. So what that must have had an impact across time, when for generations, hundreds of years, your voice is not free, right? And you
True.
could even get killed or beaten I mean, they did some horrific things in the
Oh
Caribbean
yeah.
to people. You could they're all, and even and especially, let's not forget, voice around traditional practices, stories, music, dance. Those are all voices that was suppressed heavily, and the repercussions for not listening to that were all at times deadly. So in the book, I really try to make the claim that liberation for Black women and for women in general, but I'm speaking specifically to our people, is about voice reclamation. And not just, I don't just mean speaking audibly, I mean feeling empowered to be able to be comfortable in your telling of things, right? Yeah.
Wow. That is powerful. That is so powerful.
Thank you.
Wow. So just quickly looking back now, what do you think your younger self would say about the path you've chosen?
You know what's
Ah.
funny? That's a good question. That's a good question. You know what's funny about that question? Thinking of dreams, and thank you for bringing that up about the dreams. I will definitely be writing dreams down now that I'm hearing this, because I've been having some really powerful ones coming through in the last week. But I've had this dream. I think it was like a year or two, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, where I it was all the dream was I was in this field and there was a white picket fence in front of me, and I was standing in the field, and on the opposite side of the field was like 6 or 5 year old me, and
Mm.
5 year old me was just looking at me, and I was looking at 5 year old me, and we were just standing there looking at each other, could not talk to each other, but wanted to talk to each other. So this question is a real one for me, because I've had to dig deep into this. Be like, what was little me trying to say to me now? What was me now trying to say to that child? And a lot of it has to do with this idea of being, this is going to sound weird, but being valid. Being like, I remember I told you the story about, like, I would walk in my village, and my
Yes.
family, people
Everybody,
would be
yes,
like,
you are acknowledged.
Earth would be acknowledged. That is a way of validating the self, validating people, right? It's a way of saying we see you. There's even some. I know there's some. I'm trying to remember where it is. I think. It's by South Africa, where they're sorry, this is what I was trying to avoid. I don't know if you can hear the dog in the background, but
I can, but he's adding extra sound, so that's
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Sorry about that to the listeners, but there is this greeting that is basically "I see you." Like that's how you. I can't remember which country or which region it's from, but that's that feeling of being seen is not just like I see you physically, but I see your humanity. I acknowledge that you are an important part in the chain of this community. It's more than just, hi, that
Yes.
greeting is more than that. When I went back home, I was walking in town, and we live in a very small country, like I think only like 90,000 people, very, very small. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember walking in the town, and all these older women would be like, "Okay, dear, take care, dear." They didn't know
Yes.
me, but they'd see me walking by, and they'd be like, "Take care, yes, good morning, dear." And that just fed me. So this feeling of being seen and that validating you as part of a community, I think was something that I lost when I came to Canada. And
Mm-hmm.
I, to this day, have not recovered from that loss. Because when I came here, I was no longer seen. I was just the physical scene.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, a black girl, a girl who
Yes.
stutters, a girl
Yes.
who was dark skinned, a girl with a wide nose. I became,
Yes.
those things. And because I wasn't confident in my voice, in school, people assumed that I wasn't smart. And when I mean people, I mean the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
I was just looked over, like I was just invisible to them, even though I was hyper visible to them.
Yes.
So this feeling of not being valid, of not being enough, is what I think pushed me to do some things that people will be like, "Oh, that's amazing." But it was all in an effort. Like even as I'm
Mm-hmm.
wrapping up my PhD, I'm like, why did I do a PhD? I did no, seriously. Why
No,
did
I'm
I
not
do it?
laughing at you. I'm just laughing at me
Right?
because I've been nursing that idea, but I'm saying
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So why did I do a PhD when I have four teenagers? I wrote a book at the same time. I was going through a lot. I had lost way before that my father's children had passed, but I was like a single mom, and I was like
Yeah.
struggling in so many ways. So why did I do a PhD, you know? So it really made me think, did I do it because I was trying to validate myself in a community that had invalidated me? Is that why I did it? And I struggle with that answer, because I think there's a little bit of that there, to
Mm-hmm.
say like I'm not stupid, like I do
Mm-hmm.
have something to contribute to this world, but I
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't have had to go so out of the way to say that. I could have just said that with my presence in this world, but that's not enough as a black woman, as you know, right? So what I would have said to my younger self is, when you come to this side, when you come to this country, remember to hold on to those people who saw you. Remember to
Mm-hmm.
that feeling of being seen, and remember that you are still valid as a human being. You
Mm-hmm.
still have validity, and you don't need to even do anything to earn it. Just
Mm-hmm.
you being here is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh wow, that is excellent. That
Thank you.
I was going to touch on a dicey subject, and
Go
you kind
ahead.
of veered
Go
into it.
ahead.
I know you went through loss. I think
Yeah.
the children's dad passed a couple
Yeah.
of years ago. Was it 2000 and
13.
oh 2013?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I met you, when we met, I had already gone through my phase. How has dealing with loss shaped your vision and your voice?
Hmm. My loss is complicated, right? I first experienced loss with my father passing when I was 6 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and then losing my home, well, losing our homes in that hurricane, and then my mom leaving. Well, she left
Yeah.
before that, and then losing my home permanently, was moving here to Canada.
Yeah.
And people think, Canada is this place of opportunity, and you're so lucky that you got to be here. But what I've learned over time is that I lost community. I live in Ajax. I live in a very very diverse community, but I feel very isolated here. I've lived here for 17 years, and I feel like I could just be anybody here, and nobody would even know who I was, you know? Like, no, I don't mean like you have to be known to be popular. I just mean like there's no connection to the place I'm living
Mm-hmm.
in that way. And so I feel like there are many iterations of loss that I have dealt with. And one of the greatest ones was, of course, losing. He was my husband at the time, but we were estranged. My husband suffered from mental illness, and that is how he passed away. Um, and um, and sorry, I put them downstairs, and they view that.
Mm-hmm.
Back on the topic of loss, I remember I would definitely say the worst day of my life was having to sit my children down and tell my children that they lost their father. That was something I was not ever thought I'd have to do, and was never prepared for. Dealing with my own loss took years and took time. But I was a mother of four children who were between the ages of 3 and 8, who had just lost their father. And it was a very complicated issue because he was ill. And I didn't have a lot of support from his family. I'm going to say that directly. And my mother was basically my main
Support.
support. My mother took time off work to care for my husband when he wasn't well, like weeks and weeks. You know, she would go to work and then come and help me. It was a very challenging part of my life that I could never really fully explain to people. Because when you're living with someone with a mental health issue, there's a lot of internalization of the pain. You're thinking, well, if I was just more like this. And my sister-in-law even said that to me. She said, like, you had marital problems because you were controlling or you were this. And
Always blaming the woman for the problem.
yeah, and I feel like maybe I did. Maybe I
No, you
am.
didn't.
But you know what? The truth of the matter is, I've lost like a significant person in my life. My children have, and we are literally going through hell. Like this is the point, you know? So how I dealt with that grief was not a great way of dealing with it. I actually put my grief aside, although it would come to me. Like I would have these rushes of memories and thoughts of him being hurt, being whatever, and it would just paralyze me. I would cry wherever I was. It would just take me. But then for the most part, I would just put it aside because I had four children between the ages of 3 and 8
You
who
didn't.
needed me. And my whole entire focus became about what is it that I can offer my children that doesn't make them feel like they're going to lose anything but which is ridiculous. Of course, they're going to lose. They have lost something significant. I can't protect them from that feeling of loss.
Yeah.
So, rush several years later, I'm working and I end up getting very ill. Like, just my heart is like my chest is hurting me so much that I can't even stand. And it's just like I was washing dishes and I was just pushing through. I'm like, oh, I'll just finish this and then I'll sit down. And I could not even. I was just in so much pain. And I was sent to the hospital and I'm in the emergency room and the doctor's there and the doctor looks at me and he's like, you're under a lot of stress. He's like, you're carrying, he's like, you need to take a lot of time off work. You need to be off work so you can regain your strength, regain your whatever. He goes, you're heading for disaster. So I took time off work. And in that time, I met with doctors. I also had a naturopath that I was seeing regularly. And he said something to me that changed my life. And that's when my grief journey started. He said, I want you to do something for joy every day, 20 minutes. You can't, and back then I would run, I would do a lot of work. He's like, it can't be labor. So you can't be working out. You can't be cooking a meal. You can't be doing anything that's going to take work. It's got to just, and I really had to rack my brain. What is for pleasure that doesn't require work? And that's when I started painting. I just started painting for fun. Just I sat on the couch and I would just, and then he said to me, I want you to take a nap every day. And I was like, I've never, what do you mean take a nap? I barely sleep 6 hours a day. What do you mean? And that nap was like an insistence on, like, I need to rest.
Mhm.
And then he said the third thing was, I don't want you to take on anyone's problems but those of your
Mm.
children. So you
Mm.
cannot deal with friend drama, family drama, neighbor drama,
Mm.
just your children. And that gave me the permission to really not take on any more stress.
Mm.
And because I was given that time, I was given time, 20 minutes to paint. I dealt with a lot of the pain around my
Mm.
husband's death, around the loss for my children, around the loss for me, and around the expectation that I have to be strong, which I thought at that time. I am not strong in this moment. In this moment, I am in need. I am vulnerable. I am, weak, and I need support, strength,
Oh
help.
my goodness.
So that was when my whole community beyond strong that I have started. It started out of this, like, do not you dare call me strong whenever you find out I lost my husband and my children lost their father. Tell me, oh, you are vulnerable right now. What do you need? Approach
Mhm.
me from that standpoint.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 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 Yep.
Mhm.
I'm laughing because years ago,
Mhm.
how do we call it? Maybe when did I publish this book?
Mhm.
One of my poetry.
Mhm.
It was published in, Lord, I don't even remember, 2017.
Oh, the same year that I was after that. So there you go.
So, oh my goodness, there's a piece that I wrote about. I too cry sometimes.
Oh,
Yes,
snaps. Yeah.
pity the woman called strong. It's
They,
like, I if I need to ball, let me ball.
that's right. If you need to fall apart, let you fall apart.
Let me fall
But
apart.
create a landing of care. Create a support. That's the thing we don't have as Black women. We don't have people coming along. They just keep telling us how strong we are, but we don't have people coming along and saying, what do you need? How can I support? How can I help? Thank goodness I have a mother. My mother saw me. My mother saw me spiraling. I mean, there were days where there was a time where I didn't bathe, I didn't eat, I didn't take care of my children. I was in
Oh
a
wow,
in a I don't know
you
what
were depressed.
it was beyond that. I wasn't even here. I was just standing in my window, always looking out the window, just standing looking out the window. Nobody was there when my family was going through all of this, and because this was just how it was. And my mother is the one who saw this, something is not right. And that's when I went back home, and I went and my children were there, and it was a way for me to rejuvenate, to
Mhm.
find my bearings again. And then I had great friends who kind of came alongside, encouraged me, but the rest of the world just expected me to, like, teachers, the education system, don't even get me started on that. My children received no care as a result of losing their father, like nothing from the system. And that I will always hold as a bit of a painful moment. And
Yes.
yeah, it's all I will say. I could go on about that, but all I
Yes.
will say is that my mother, again, like, came to me, saw that I was losing my bearings, and
Mhm.
realized I need to go back home.
Mhm.
And my children, they didn't want to come together back together. They cried. We had to leave.
Do I blame them?
They cried on the plane. We don't want to come back to
I,
Canada.
I don't blame them
Yeah.
because they've discovered family
Yes, and freedom.
and freedom and what
Yeah.
it means when it says it takes a village to be seen,
Thank you.
to
Thank
be
you.
acknowledged.
That's right.
When you pass, it's like, hey, you come here.
That's right.
Whose child are you? So,
Thank
so
you.
and so. Oh, I
Oh,
know your grandmother. And
that's it.
give you stories you didn't even know about your grandmother when
That's
she was
right.
growing up.
That's right. That's 100%. 100%. Yeah. And my children told me, they were little, and they said to me, we felt free here. They actually said that to me. We feel
Yes.
free.
And I
One
know,
thing I have to say, when I read, there was a book, Segu, that I read. I don't know if you're familiar with that book. It's a novel, and it was written about when Africa was colonized by both, Arab or Muslim
Yeah.
um, um, invaders, sorry, and the Western colonizers,
Hmm.
and they so it kind of went all the way through until almost present day and so on. And what I noticed is that the first part of the book, I was bored because it was like a list. This person came from this person belonged
Oh,
to
that's griotry.
this person. And I was like, so I asked my friend who's a Ghanaian, I said to her, why is there so much time spent doing this? And she said that's because if you don't know where you come from, you are
Hmm.
nothing. You have nothing.
Yeah.
So in our tradition, we have to remember here is our lineage. Here's where we're coming from, because
Yes.
that tells us we are something.
There is a proverb that says,
Yeah.
Titi wobika, Titi wobichre. The past has a lot to say, and the past has a lot to teach.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Love
So
it. Love
let's get to your
it. Yeah.
how do you call it, the final out,
Yeah.
looking at your graduate scholar
Yeah.
and being a PhD candidate,
Yeah.
almost done. Woo! Finish hard for both of us,
Yeah. Yeah.
for all of us,
That's right. It's all of ours. It's all of
Yes,
ours.
yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, if you were to, what does redesigning systems and institutions look like to you in practice?
Oh, I love this question because I do this work already.
Mhm.
Basically, I take, what we've been talking about, what we've been sharing,
Yes,
the Afrocentric thought, the
yes.
Black feminist thought. I take
Hmm.
that together and I create opportunities for learning and exploring.
Hmm.
So whenever I'm sharing, so for an example, I'll give you an example. I work with OFIA. OFIA is an organization that's both national, but you'll know it largely as Ontario, where they set some standards for health and physical education. They do a lot more than that. They really want to look at well-being and belonging and
Hmm.
all of that together. So I've been working with them, and they asked me to come as a delegate, as part of their delegation at this conference, to talk about the connection between swimming, water, and Black youth, because there is this like sort of this area where we really find it difficult to talk about, right? Water and Black people, and because I had just gone through this journey where I just learned how to swim last year,
Hmm.
and it was another form of liberation, right?
Hmm.
So I was thinking about, I want to approach this from a fulsome way, so people can understand. Number one, we as Black people have had water deities, water traditions, water rituals, water knowledge. We've had that from time.
Hmm.
And there has been a severing of that relationship to that knowledge, to those rituals, practices, to those deities, that was intentional, right? To remove us from our relationship to water. Yet water was a way that our oppression was facilitated with the Atlantic slave
Exactly.
trade, right?
Yes.
So I decided to approach this re-education of educators who were going to be with youth
Hmm.
in Ontario. Actually, it was all across Canada. I started by giving them that information, having them explore what are and generally Africa is a huge continent with many countries. So I really focus in on the west coast, and even that is like another
Yeah.
huge region, but I try to focus on certain points so they understand. Here are some. So I talk about Yamoja, who is a big deity for me, in talking about how Yamoja is now seen as the goddess of the surface of the sea because she accompanied her people across during the Atlantic slave trade. Because even on this side of the Atlantic, Yamoja is honored in Brazil, in the
Yes.
Caribbean. right?
Yes.
Because of that, because she traveled with her people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So talking to them about understanding water in that way, then I use the archives to show how Black people were disenfranchised from their relationship with water,
Mm-hmm.
further by laws, by policies, by
Mm-hmm.
practices, because sometimes there
Mm-hmm.
were no laws, but there were just practices, right?
Yes.
So taking all of that into
Into
account,
account.
that's how we're going to redesign and reintegrate or and enter into a relationship with Black youth and water. So I called that workshop Dreaming Alongside Black Youth with Water. Because if you're going to educate Black youth, if you're going to be in that relationship with them, you got to dream with them too. And then you got to know, what are some of these barriers? What are some of these openings? What are some things that they may not even be aware of, that you may need to be aware of, right? So that when I say I use an Afrocentric, Black feminist, and arts based way of creating change, especially policy change, it's really about tapping into these unknown fonts of knowledge that people do not have about
Yeah.
our systems, that you Nana, you have this knowledge, right? You were brought up in this knowledge, you carried it and you studied it and you learned it and you shared it. A lot of our community does not have that knowledge,
Yeah.
and then even outside of our community there's definitely not that awareness.
Mm-hmm.
People would assume that we as a people just don't have anything to do with water, that we're
No, we do.
Thank you. When I was in
We
Ghana and I was along the coast, I mean, the water was so, like, that area was so busy with boats and this and that and like
we
so
do.
much activities going on, right? But there's this assumption that we don't, water is not our thing. Our water is our thing. It's
It
our
is. It
thing.
is. It is. And water has always been our thing.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest lessons I'd learned when they pour in libation, you
Yes.
always, yes, uh-huh. But also when you crossing a
Mhm.
water body, you also pay reverence to it. Because as that water body, you are water, majority
Yeah.
water. But that water also sustains you,
Right.
and that water can equally, if disrespected, take you out.
Thank you. And that's what we have the awareness in the Caribbean.
Yes,
We have that very close relationship
yes,
because of the hurricanes.
yes.
Yes.
And when you're born,
Yeah.
you are surrounded by water.
Water. Yeah. Yeah.
So, from the traditional perspectives, that
Mm.
is why you pay respect and homage to water. It can
Mhm.
clean you up, it can cleanse you
Yeah.
as well. So, it is very intricate. But
Mhm.
if I keep going on,
I know. Yeah.
colonization, you've talked
Mhm.
about that, has also impacted even many of us on the continent,
Right. Yes.
that we do not pay homage and respect to
Yeah.
the water bodies. And
Yeah.
that is why, for instance, in Ghana, there's so much abuse
Yeah.
in the sense of galamsey, mining for gold.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
respected the water so much so
Mhm.
that on certain days you don't go, you don't fish, you
Mhm.
don't do this, you don't do that, you
Wow.
don't till the land. Yes.
Wow. Wow.
But these days,
Doesn't
that
matter.
it doesn't matter. And we are suffering and paying for it.
Of course. Well, this is a thing that I want people to, when I do, like, whether it's research consultation or policy work with community groups or organizations or whomever, I want to bring in this knowledge that they may not have, to give them a more fullness awareness of where do we ground this work, this change that we want to do. When I think about water, it's so this other thing I had with this other experience I had with water was I was very afraid of water. So remember, I grew up right on the Atlantic
Mhm.
Ocean, right? For the first 6 years, 7 years. I was very afraid of water, like terrified. I did not want to go in a body of water unless I could feel my feet in the bottom, right? And
Mhm.
so I learned how to swim in high school because of that fear. My gym teacher forced me to learn because for gym, my class was going sailing. I went to a very affluent school. I was not affluent. I was very poor. But my mom hates when I say I was poor, but it's true. I was not, whatever.
No, you were just financially challenged.
it. Even she won't even like that. But yeah, but the rest of the class went sailing for gym, and then another girl and I, she's brown. We went. We had the teacher told us we had to learn how to swim, but because the fear of water was never acknowledged,
Addressed.
and
Yeah.
that teacher who taught us how to swim did not dig into the background. Why is this brown and black girls, the only two in the class, are the only two who don't know how to swim? Why? What is behind that? And how can I approach swimming from this perspective of developing a relationship with water?
Mhm.
Right? So I learned the technicalities of swimming, but I was terrified of water. So I would only swim on my back. I'm telling you, I decided last year, no, I want to be in relationship with water because every time I stood in front of a body of water, I felt my body like do this.
Mhm.
It would scare me. I could feel, and I didn't know what that was until I did that voice reclamation class. And I learned that that is the feeling of the fullness of the
Mhm.
experiences that are held in water.
Mhm.
So water is almost like it's like a magnet. My body is like
Yes.
responding to it. And because I'm a very in tuned person physically, I can feel it.
Mhm.
So I got over the fear of water. I decided to reconcile with water when I went back home. It still wasn't done. I stood in front of the Atlantic Ocean and it tried to pull me in. Don't get me wrong. It did. It tried to pull me in. I didn't go to swim. I just went to collect the water for the salt. And I stepped in it and it came rushing
Right.
at me like, okay. And I ran back and I fell. And my cousin and I had such a laugh, but it was to remind me like the water is communicating with me. We're here
Yes.
together
Yes.
in this. And in the book I talk a lot about this relationship with water.
Mhm.
I use one of the main figures in the book is Agwe, which is a water god. And
Mhm.
Agwe is the father of what would be my great grandmother, although that's a name I speculated, right?
Mhm.
And I talk about how he finds freedom and liberation in water.
Water.
And he
Yeah.
offers that to his children, and he invites them into this relationship with water. And that is where they also use their voice and can find the clarity in the sound of their voice bouncing off of the water. So water. So to come back to your question about how I use all this to create change is I think a lot of times when we're trying to create change for communities, we don't get to know the backstory. We don't get
Yes.
to know what are the things that could inform the decisions that they've made that they may not have even been aware of, but has
Mhm.
shaped their community, that's created a soul wound, maybe that
Mhm.
has prevented them from engaging in a certain way, or prevented the state or whoever it is from engaging with them in a certain way. So I think the backstory is important. Part of my
Mhm.
scholarship is really around story work, where I look at the individual stories that we hear from people in research and
Mhm.
how that connects to national,
Mhm.
historical, and
Mhm.
cultural narratives that are a bit larger that these stories hang off of. They don't just live in isolation on their own. They're
No,
connected, you know?
it is true. Girl, I can keep having this conversation. But just what, as you say that, and I'm laughing
Yeah.
because you're just hitting all points that I'm so much aware of. When
Yeah.
I was doing grad school, I had to write a paper, and I really didn't know the best approach. But
Yeah.
this is how I did it. So I wrote the story of me
Hmm.
in Cape Coast
Oh,
going to Holy Child,
yeah.
being able to stand and look across the Atlantic and imagine
Wow.
the
Wow.
brothers and sisters that were
Wow.
taking over. But how did I come to that story of me being,
Yeah.
which is Christopher Columbus
Hmm.
making that decision to go in search of being granted permission?
Yeah.
So I tied their story to my story and being
Wow.
here in Canada.
That's beautiful.
Their decision making impacting across generations,
Yeah.
different lives to
Yeah.
my story. So even though I tell my story, it is hinged.
That's
on
right.
other people's story.
Stories. We are all and that comes back
Yes.
to this idea, an Afrocentric belief that this interconnectedness
Mhm.
amongst beings, that we cannot act as if we're just this like thing existing on our own. We are not, which then creates a sense of responsibility that once we're aware that we're interconnected in this way, then now we are then called into a conversation of responsibility, right? Yeah.
Finally, looking ahead, when
Yeah.
you think about legacy, what kind of imprint do you
Oh,
want to leave for the next
uh-huh.
generation when you become an
Yeah. An
ancestor?
ancestor. I think I really focus my work on women, although I do work with with organizations who deal with youth and other issues, other groups. I really have a little focus on Caribbean women. And my hope is that we could just exactly what you said, but the reverse. I want to do this triangulation in reverse. So I want to go from Canada to the Caribbean back to Africa and connect these stories about the way women are either given opportunities to reclaim their voice, and where women are able to live lives in their fullness outside of a legacy of being burdened with care work that they have to do for a society at large. To Because think about it, why are Afro-Caribbean women here in Canada? How did we get here from the Caribbean? A lot of us are either descendants, children of, or are the generation that came here to provide care for white Canadians. And guess what? People don't realize Canada first tried to get care from Europe. So they first tried to entice white women, to come here and to provide care for their for the elderly, for children, nursing, school, all this. They tried. They didn't want to do it. They didn't come in droves. So they went to the next best thing, right? The Caribbean. They went, to these countries, and they we had to come here to do this work, and they sold it as, we're giving you an opportunity, right? We're giving you an opportunity, but that opportunity was extractive, because they were extracting care from us as women, and they were taking away even more was our ability to give care to our families
Yes.
that we were disconnected from. You couldn't bring your partner up here, couldn't bring their child. I was one of the lucky ones that was due to the hurricane. This happened, whatever, but you couldn't do that. So you
That's
have
a lot of
it's
sacrifice.
a lot of suffering. It's a lot of sadness, a lot of grief and pain.
Yes.
So, what I would like to do, my legacy, is to encourage women and create opportunities for women to explore themselves outside of a narrative of having to be burdened with providing care for nation states and their population, but really knowing, what does it mean to live in my fullness as a Black woman? What does that mean?
I just did. I just quit over 2 decades of bedside nursing to
Wow.
go into management.
Wow. Wow.
And my dear sister,
Yeah,
that is the best decision I ever made for myself.
I know. I Listen, I think more people need to hear this story, that because I think I've had this discussion with another professor where she's like, "Well, what if women want to?" And I'm like, "How do you the idea of desire and wanting to is complicated for us." And that goes back, way back, when the colonizers first decided, that we were property, right? When they say, oh, Black women and their enslavers were in relationships. How do you qualify that as a relationship that is consensual when you have all these politics of oppression around the person, right? If you're telling me my only way to be free and gain access into Canada is so that I can be a nurse and work in this way, or I can be a teacher, or I can be, a child care worker, whatever it is that provides care, doesn't matter, right? Um, it's mainly opportunities that are around about giving care. But you're telling me this is how I can be a part of the system. Is that really free choice? Is that really
It's
right?
not.
It's not.
It's
People
not.
don't, and people have a hard time hearing that because you're like, oh, you're ungrateful. You're in this great free country. Then go back home then. I'm like, you know what? I would love to. Can you give us back the infrastructure that you basically took all our resources all along Africa, all along Caribbean. You took it from us and you built up you how do you think you have roads, hospitals, schools, da, 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 da. You think you are the ones that created that? No, it was on our backs that created the society you have in Europe all the way down here. So send me back, but send me back with all that infrastructure that you built up your own country with. I'll go gladly.
I did not ask your ancestors to come too. But as an indigenous person from
Right.
Ghana, just like many indigenous societies,
Yeah.
we see you, we welcome you, we give you a
Thank you.
chair. You bring your alcohol and you bring a Bible, alcohol, and a gun,
Mhm.
and then you
Yeah.
take all the good stuff that we have, and
Yes.
then you leave the bad.
And
And
diseases. Don't forget the
and
diseases.
then the diseases.
Yeah.
And then you try to tell me that my ancestral worship is not good, but I should follow a Jesus Christ of Nazareth.
Yeah.
A- As my brothers and sisters would say, and Lord forgive me, bumbleclad. Who the hell is that?
Yeah, you know what's interesting I find is that a lot of people don't realize that Christianity was in Africa before the colonizers came. King James wrote, uh, took the Bible and pulled out what he wanted to from the Bible because it would have empowered women. It would have
Oh,
empowered other communities. So if you look at the books that he took out, go people who want to talk about the Word of God, go ahead, look at it, look
my,
at all of it.
my sister, Myrtle, listen, when it comes to Black women,
Yeah.
African women,
Yeah.
we are a powerful lot. And
Yes.
I am seeing us coming back.
Oh, we are.
I,
We
I
are.
bought a little book. I don't know where it is
Yeah.
behind me, but it says how to train a nigger.
Wow.
Yes. And this man from the Caribbean came to the US to tell them how to train
Wow.
their, yes, for them to be obedient. And it says, start with the
Mhm.
woman,
Of course. Of
the Black
course.
woman.
Yeah.
Who do we hear most of the time? Harriet Tubman.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Start
the
with the
women.
Black woman,
It's
because
the
if you're
women.
able to break her, you can break her offspring,
Yeah.
and she will keep
Yeah.
them in line for you
Yeah.
and the husband as well.
Yeah. It's true. Very true. I often wonder, I've often thought about this idea uh of how kingdom is passed, is the in your culture in particular.
Matrilineal.
Right, it's the mother who decides, and I'm like, I've often wondered about that and how that
There
is
is a
something.
story to it, but
Okay, tell me
I,
the story. Yeah,
it's a longer story of how the
okay,
nation became.
right.
So we have to find time, and I will tell you the historical
Yeah,
story of how
yeah,
the accounts are matrilineal.
you're right, right.
And
I
if,
think it's
yeah,
beautiful. I think
yeah,
there was one day 2 years ago where all of a sudden, like, this was when I decided to, like, I'm moving into my eldership. I was like, I'm
yes.
okay with this. But I was walking around and I was like, just
Ooh,
walking with, like, I was
ooh.
feeling myself. I just felt like, yeah, we are the shit. Like, Black women are the shit. Like, I just felt like, you know what? There's something about us. And they tried and they almost succeeded. They
Yes,
tried to make
yes,
us believe that no, you don't have it. But I'm like,
yes.
no, we know.
We
Everywhere you
know.
look around the world, what do you see? Black culture. It's hidden.
Yes,
They were looking for it, but they know. They know. So I walk as a Black woman. I'm like, I know I'm the shit. Like, you can try in academia. Oh, trust me, they have tried to convince me that my knowledge is inferior, that my work is not on par. Oh, I've heard professors say Black feminist is not a thing. Blah blah blah, whatever. But you know what? Once you know,
sorry.
you once you know, and they can't take it away from you. That's the thing.
Yep. that,
Mhm.
so live within your power. When you
Yeah.
pass and they look
Come
at
on.
you, they'll
I'm
look at you once,
that's
twice, and you can feel it's like, oh, hello, hi, how are you? God bless you. And then you
the
pass.
move on.
They sense the spirit.
Yeah. So this is the legacy I want to leave behind. I want all Black women to be able to, that feeling that I had when I was walking. I'm like, yes, I feel that. I want every Black woman to have that feeling. And I don't want them to have it because of something outside of themselves only. Although the outside can really impact you, but I want them to become aware of what is this thing that I carry, this life force, right? This energy, this ancestral force that is with me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
what is it? I have this picture of my great grandmother. I always share this. This is
Oh,
my Bessie.
yes.
In this hand is a staff to help her walk. She's probably going gardening, and I know she's going
Mm-hmm.
gardening because you can't see it well. She has a cutlass in the other hand.
Yes.
And so, yeah,
Or she's going for root medicine.
yes. Oh, yeah. She was a woman that was very much connected to plant life. And actually, her grandson, my uncle, I will not mention his name, he
Mm-hmm.
cut down her vegetation and basically uprooted it, and she died, like just like that, because that was part of her life force, lifeline,
Yeah.
and but I think about her all the time with this staff to guide her walking and this cutlass to be like, I know who I am. Like
Yes.
I may be like, I may not be strong enough to walk without the staff, but I still got
Yes.
my cutlass in the hand.
Yes.
you know
Yes. 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 Yes.
yeah,
Still had relevance and purpose in
that's
society.
right, that's right.
Myrtle, thank you
Yeah,
so much for sharing your story, your
you're
journey,
welcome.
your wisdom, your heart, everything. Thank you, thank you, thank you. To our listeners, this is the opportunity for you to learn, to listen, and also to reflect on your journey. There's been a lot of self work, as you can tell, to be here. And
Yes.
it doesn't happen overnight, it takes time
Yeah.
so that you can, ground yourself in who you are, find your purpose, and do the work and also leave your legacy. And
Yeah.
I'm so proud of you,
Mhm.
Myrtle. I'm
Thank you
so
so
proud
much.
of
Thank
you.
you for inviting me. Thank you, Nana, for inviting me to this amazing platform to be able to share like my work. And also thank you for caring for the stories, not just of mine, but of other people. I think that's something that we have to keep up is our storytelling. Uh,
Yes.
so I really appreciate you giving space for that and letting other people be able to share that and letting others listen in. And I'm sure that that will also encourage them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, this conversation has been about reclaiming, healing, and creating anew. Until next time, keep it.
Thank you so much.